All right. Well, welcome everyone to another training session in leadership development transformation. As we've been going through these lessons, we've been working on up-leveling ourselves, and that truly does have a literal and figurative visual nature to it, where we are climbing levels in leadership. As we do so, there is an expansive, very vast array of different topics that we can talk about. We know that we're working on up-leveling ourselves because the next 6 to 12 months is absolutely crucial to our business and to our leadership. And we know that we are going to continue to dig deeper and deeper into the Maxwell Behavioral Assessments, or DISC. So as you listen to this lesson, what I want you to have, if you don't have it right now, is press pause and go make sure you have a hard copy of your DISC in front of you, because we're going to go deep into the DISC specifically today, and we're going to be talking about improving our communication. You see, Gerald Ford says about communication, talent is not enough. You guys all have a vast amount of talent. I'm thoroughly impressed with the talent on this team, but talent is not enough. Experience is not enough. So for some of you, as we break apart this quote, we realize some of you don't have as much experience, and some of you have an immense amount of experience within the organization. And again, go back to it. Talent's not enough. Experience is not enough. To lead others, you must be able to communicate. In connecting is the key. That's, again, Gerald Ford. We're going to really go deeper into your ability to lead yourself, and then therefore lead others through your communication and how you connect with them. And I want to make sure that we become practitioners of masterful communication to help drive the vision and the mission that we have. So when we talk about communication, I want to get some framework and some handles around what communication types are there out there, or maybe the vehicles, the modes. How do we communicate with other people? As a group and as a team, every one of us, whether it's in Transform or in a large group Fit Body, we run sessions. So we can say we communicate with our members through sessions. We communicate with our members, and our members communicate a lot with us through social media by tagging and doing check-ins and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes Messenger if they have a problem or something like that. Occasionally we'll communicate with phone calls to make sure that lost sheep reports are getting done properly. Sometimes it's essential to do a phone call or schedule a time to talk on the phone with a member to coach them through some of their hurdles and obstacles and challenges. Sometimes we'll get into text exchanges with each other and members, email exchanges. Obviously, you guys know that there's these things called progress reports, and that's a vehicle for communication. And I'm sure you can say countless others. We didn't even get into, that words are, so often thought of as the biggest vehicle for communication, because that's how we communicate with one another. But body language and tone are part of examples of where communication can really go great or go really wrong in a hurry with body language and tone. I've been thinking a lot about my own communication, and one of the things that I've been working on personally in my communication and connection skill set is emotional control. Because if I lose my emotion, my body language and my tone might change, and it may be off-putting to other people. So that's just an example of how we can really, really dig deep into this thing about communication examples. Now, again, you guys have seen this slide before, but it is absolutely essential that we not think about it from I've seen this before, but how well am I interpreting this? How well am I applying this to my communication and to my leadership? You see, the simplicity of communication does go back to these 4 essential perspectives. Any topic, anywhere, anytime. In Fit Body, in Transform, in your lives, if you pick a singular topic, we know that we can have a predictable nature to the style of the person and how they're going to look at the topic. If I said, just as an example, progress reports, D's will look at progress reports and think, what are they and what do I have to do? It's just like, what, like fast stuff. When an I looks at the topic of progress reports, who do I need to communicate their progress reports with? So it's always about the who from an I's perspective. S's will look at progress reports and say, how do I do them right? I want to make sure I do them right. I love being on this team. And so let's make sure that I have the how down pat. And if they don't have the how down pat, they're going to be reluctant to move forward with a task or activity until they can confer with others. And then C's will look at it and say, progress reports, why are we doing them? If it's logical and it fits, they will do them. If it's not logical and doesn't fit, most often a C will try to figure out a better way to do something, and that means they'll go deep in thought. Also, from a C's perspective, if they don't like how the progress report sounds to them, then they'll keep trying to make it perfect, because why are we doing them is to make sure we communicate masterfully, and C's will be perfectionists within it. So again, that's just one topic, progress reports. But again, I want us to think about our communication from our unique perspective, because it will be instrumental to how we connect with others if we don't connect to their style as well. So what I want you guys to do is, as part of your homework, you're going to go through an exercise that your team in each of your locations is going to share, a short little story. So I want you to prepare this early on right now, so that when your leader does ask you to show up and tell the little story about your upbringing, that you're prepared and ready. So this is part of your homework. But what I want you to think about is to put together a 1-minute story about your upbringing based on where you grew up and what were the 2 words that you would use to describe your experience in communication while you were growing up. So again, just a 1-minute story. It's interesting, when I had the leaders do this in a live training, it was predictable that I's and the C's went over a minute. There's a precursor to just make it a minute, keep it simple. It doesn't have to be long-winded, but it does need to share a little insight about who you are and how you were raised. Here's my example. I grew up in Fruitport, Michigan, and the 2 words that were best utilized for communication in my upbringing were love and effort. Anything that I could do, I made a lot of mistakes when I was a kid, y'all. And my mom continued just to give me love and encouragement. So that love was the communication style that she conveyed to me. Whereas my dad, he raised me well, and he raised me to be a hard worker that went out and played sports, and excellence was the pursuit. So he just demanded that I give my best effort in everything I did. When he didn't think I gave my best effort, he would tell me quickly. So, it was either love or effort from my upbringing that drives how I communicate and who I am to people. Now, communication is broken into 3 parts. We can't miss the simplicity of communication, because sometimes we get this wrong. And when we get it wrong, that's where we have disconnected or disjointed communication with others. It's based on purpose. What's the purpose of us communicating? Purpose is, so often, we fall back on bad habits. We don't have a purpose to the communication, or, we have the wrong purpose to a communication, and it sends our relationship sideways. Perspective is more about the D, the I, the S, and the C, because again, if you go to a purpose of, I'm going to talk to you about helping you lose weight, and I communicate from an I style, but I'm communicating to a C, then if I don't communicate to the C style and give them the details that they need in their effort and attempt to understand how to lose weight, I will become disconnected. Now, if they want to talk about how to lose weight and I want to talk about some other purpose, like how to be the best at burpees, then our purposes are disjointed. So both purpose and perspective have to be on point to have an effective communication. And then obviously personal style. Personal style will get into the nature of fun-loving, very direct, very thorough and detailed. So it'll get into our perspectives, but deeper into our style in storytelling and or not wanting to really talk too much to people. All of that becomes part of our communication. So if purpose, perspective, or personal style is off, then it's going to be painful. If purpose, perspective, and personal style are spot on, then it is going to be pleasant. So again, you choose in your communication with your teammates, with your members. Do you want painful, or do you want pleasant communication? Make sure that you are slowing yourself down and looking through the 3 Ps to make it pleasant as possible for everyone. Now, again, the 4 styles, I want us to go a little bit deeper into it. A D communicates from a dominant perspective. The I communicates from an influencer's perspective. The S communicates from a steady, loyal, faithful, hardworking perspective. And then obviously the C communicates from a compliant perspective, making sure that everything is thorough and right. So when you look at the perspectives, you know that we are talking about outgoing versus reserved. You know we are talking about people-oriented versus task-oriented. And if we do it right, then we're going to be successful in our communication. Again, if we do it wrong. So it's crucial that we start to practice this and we start to really understand who's in front of us, make good guesstimates, or know our teammates, make good guesstimates about members so that we can communicate both from our style, but to their style, because that's where you're going to create real connection. So we should know about Ds. If we have a D on the team or if we have a D as a member, they like to seek control of the conversation. Their strengths in communication are administrative focus, leadership focus, and determination. Their challenges in communication is they are impatient, they're insensitive, and they are poor listeners. And that's because they are so dominant and strong as communicators. So they don't like, they're just impatient when waiting for other people to finish stories and or to ask questions. And it just comes off too often as insensitive. They dislike communication inefficiency. If they don't see that it's going in the right direction, that's where their impatience grows. And if they see indecision from somebody where they don't know what they want to talk about and they're meandering through trying to figure it out, that's a dislike of a D, and they will grow even more impatient, more insensitive. And you might hear them say, "Good golly, get there quicker," because there are some styles of communication that just meander too much. And their decisions when communicating are very decisive. They think about it, they assess what, and they go for it because they are strong-willed people. Now, if you're communicating from an I or with an I, then you'll know that an I always likes to seek recognition. They want to be the center of attention and recognized for their value, their words, their everything. So they want to talk, right? Their strengths in communication are persuading people. They're very persuasive. They have a high amount of enthusiasm, and most often their communication is entertaining. They can laugh. They can laugh at themselves, they can laugh with others, they make things light and fun. Now, within that, the challenges of communicating from an I style is I style people lack detail, they're short on attention span, squirrel, and they have very low follow through because what they're really trying to do is entertain people, not follow through and get results. Within the dislikes of from communicating from an I style people is I style people dislike routines. They like a lot of change and they dislike complexity. They're more surface level, then they go deep into subjects and topics. So again, that's why we do talk about stuff like programming, which gets complex, it not being the strength of an I, and they aren't going to necessarily communicate the complexities of programming to people because, you know, it's just not what they like to do. It's not fun to them. And their decisions when communicating are very spontaneous. They can change their mind like the wind changes direction on a windy, stormy day type thing. So spontaneous decision making. Communicating from an S style, which represents 69% of the world's population. So this is the big one, right? Ds are 3%, Is are 11%, but S's represent 69%. S's communicate to seek acceptance. They want to be accepted by a group and or by a boss, by a leader. So think about your members that are just seeking acceptance from you because they think that you are a fitness professional. But you know, if we're not conveying acceptance to them, man, it's rough. The disconnect can be real and the cancellations can happen. So the strength of an S-style person is they communicate through listening, which we didn't even talk about early on in our communication style, and we probably should, because that's what we all need to do a better job of, is listening to people. And they communicate through teamwork. Let's do it together. Can you help me? And they communicate through follow through. Thank you for the help. I'm going to go do this now. So that's how S-style people communicate when they are professionals and moving in the right direction in their communication. S-style people challenges are they are oversensitive. And that's a dilemma in this day and age. They are slow to begin. They don't take initiative because they're trying to figure out if they're doing it right and the how behind things. And they dislike change. And I want to, call this out. 69% of the world's population start with S. And they dislike change. And if you guys just stop and think about how much change has happened in your business, how much change has happened in our world going from 2019 to 2020, 2021, 2022 into 2023, it seems like we're in a constant state of change. And that is something that 69% of the world doesn't like. And that's why there's turmoil at a higher level in the world right now. So we want to be able to understand who our S-style people are and help them embrace change. That's the key to better communication and connection. S-style people dislike insensitivity, so therefore they probably dislike, when a D-style person's being insensitive. They dislike impatience, so they probably, when a D is representing that they're getting impatient, we're going to have to learn to get along with each other. We're going to have to really learn to communicate with one another. And we're going to need to make sure that we give the S-style people the ability to ask questions and see clearly what the objectives are, because they like to make decisions through conferring, which is talking about it, talking through it. It will slow communication down. It will slow activity down. But as long as we give them the 5-10 minutes that they need to help answer any questions they have, S-style people are going to be amazing at getting stuff done and communicating well. Now, last but not least, C-style people communicate to seek accuracy. They want to be perfect in the communication. As often they won't talk because they're trying to figure out what the right words are to say, and they're thinking about it instead of actually doing the talking. Their communication is strong when they're communicating planning and systems and orchestration, a kind of the why behind things and the detailed nature of how to get things done. That's what a C-style person is absolutely exceptional at. As we move into the new model, that will become crucial because we will want to make sure that our planning, our systems, and our orchestration are spot on. The challenges that we might see from a C-style person is that they might be perfectionists. They might be overly critical of people that aren't perfect. and they might be unresponsive in communication, meaning they're not communicating because they're lost in thought and in deep thought. Don't take offense to it. Understand that this is a challenge of a C, but it's not because they're mad at you. It's not because they're being rude to you. It's because they're thinking. Give them more time to process through, and they'll get you a great response. The dislikes of a C-style person when communicating from their style is they dislike disorganization. So they dislike a lot of I-style people that are always disorganized, and they dislike dishonesty. So if they catch you with a little white lie, if they sense that you're trying to people please them and tell them what they want to hear, they will dislike it because they don't need to hear what they want to hear. They need to hear the truth, and they'll be okay with that. And their decisions are made very methodically, thought-provoking in their communication. Now, we've just broken apart how to really, really be a better communicator, because we've basically said all the words that would make sense to each of the perspectives, each of the styles. Within the awareness of what is really at play and what we need to learn about ourselves and about our teammates. And if we ever get to this level, it would be great to get from even a membership level of looking at discs and looking at the graphs. Now, remember, I want to help you get good at yourself first. So if perhaps this was your graph, if you just look at how I unpack and unfold what I'm looking at, I always look at the center graph first. The center graph is the core of who you are. It is how you handle or how you respond to communication in stressful times. Again, I said in stressful times, so think about it. If you're under duress or stress or tension, then your center graph is the most predictable way that you will communicate. It's interesting to think like this, because this person would be a strong S-style person. Again, we understand that S's seek acceptance. We understand that they're slow, methodical, steady. They dislike impatience. They confer. They want to talk about it to make decisions. So if this person is under duress, stressed, or tension, they're going to communicate from an S style. What makes things confusing is they modify their behavior. Their perception, the right-hand graph, is that they communicate more from an I style, which is more outgoing, more enthusiastic, more persuasive. So if there's no stress present, they think they're a good I style person, and they represent on the far left graph an actual very high I in front of people. But the thing that we have to be aware of is what kind of mixed messages and confusion are we sending people? Because if people don't know that I'm feeling tension, stress, and duress, then they will expect me to be outgoing. And if I am under tension, stress, and duress, I go to a S style and I lack a little bit of confidence in my communication, and I switch from being spontaneous to being conferring, and it throws other people off when they're trying to communicate with us. So being aware of what we are feeling, being aware of what's going on in our surroundings, and being aware of what we are trying to represent to people, and trying to figure out how we can convey a similar message no matter what's going on, is our growth pattern. If you were to look at this specific graph, it would tell you on page 15 of your report. Write that down right now. Page 15 of my report tells me what's going on and how possibly to improve my communication and fix the fact that my bubbles are moving. Because aside, well, not even aside, each and every one of the bubbles, the D, the I, the S, the C, all have movements, and all of those movements are described on page 15. And that is a growth pattern when you can start to understand yourself and modify things to better show symmetry, better show cohesiveness, cohesiveness in each of your situations that you're under. So as an assignment, I want you to look at your graphs, and I want you to start to begin to understand where your bubbles move. I want you to ask me questions about what your graphs represent if you don't have clarity and certainty based on what you're looking at. So go ahead and fire me an email, rich@project1202.com, and say, hey, Rich, can you look at my graphs, and can we have a exchange? Can we have a communication about the graphs? So one of the hallmarks of what we should try to understand is the do's and don'ts of our communication style. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go to page 8 of your disc, and I would like you to select the top 2 do's and the top 2 don'ts. If I'm going to communicate with you, give me a cheat sheet, give me an advantage, give me some help in understanding how I set my communication up for you to best connect with you. Likewise, look at the do nots or the don'ts and show me the top 2 don'ts. So that's part of your homework, because your leader and your team, they want to do a better job of communicating with you. So we're going to really start practicing who we need to grow in our connection with, and how do we use the do's and the don'ts and become aware of them and become aware of how to better communicate with them, and practice it day in, day out for 2 weeks at a time. Again, you guys, we've got to do better practice when it comes to communication, because that's how you master yourself, is through practice. So pick your top 2 do's and your top 2 don'ts. Now, not everybody has a disc. So what we want to start to learn and think about is your page 11 of your disc is set up to break apart the characteristics of a D, an I, an S, and a C. The left-hand side gives you characteristics. The right-hand side gives you a pathway. So if you spend enough time looking at any one person, or giving 100% of your thought and conscious thinking to a person, you can figure out which of the 2 most dominant styles a person has. If you sense that a person is confident, assertive, aggressive, challenges you in your coaching, seems to like to take control, and doesn't like the routines that we're putting in front of them, they may be a D style person. And that means we need to, in our communication, be brief, direct, and to the point, stay within the picture, the big picture of what they're trying to accomplish. Don't try and share all the details. Just tell them, go work out hard. And that will help them. I style people are typically talkative, optimistic, encourage others, fun to be around, probably dancing throughout your entire session, driving you nuts because you're trying to get them to work out. And they're probably very social. So start connecting the dots of people that talk too much during your demos. And then what you want to do is figure out, how do I communicate with them and get them to do what they're here to do, knowing that they might be talking too much. S style people are loyal and reliable and good listeners, and they avoid confrontation, and they seem to be mediators in disputes. So when you start to understand that 69% of the world's population is S style, then move over, look at this, keep the conversation tone pleasant and friendly, steer clear of confrontation with them. If we're getting too aggressive with an S style person, they are a cancellation risk, and they will affect our attrition and retention numbers. So steer clear of confrontation with these people. They just love being there. And this is probably the most difficult style person to become more honest with and challenge them on their transformations that they're seeking. Because if we push too hard, they may think we're confrontational. So this is the one I want us to get the best at. We really need transformations out of S-style people, and we can help them grow their confidence, but we have to teeter on the balance between care and candor so they don't perceive it to be too confrontational. Ask a lot of questions of S-style people, and you'll get a lot of good conversations going. If you start to see somebody that is starting to challenge your macronutrient plan that you've given them, or they're overthinking and analyzing what you're putting in front of them. You might be in front of a C-style person. They're very organized. They work well with a schedule. They prefer, just to let them work alone. And they seem maybe quiet and reserved. Then you need to focus on facts and keep the tone professional, give them all the details and let them work through the process. Now we're learning this is a member focus on D, I, S, and C. And I want us to start thinking about the people in front of us, not being on autopilot, not being aware of who's in front of us, because the more we can focus on the people that are in front of us and pour into them to help them get the transformations they seek, the better our businesses are. So stop, communication, get over yourself. It's not about you. It's about the other person. And I've given you an absolute cheat sheet. Now it's just a matter of you studying it and trying to connect the dots on who you think is in front of you and practice on them and see how the response comes from them. So there's simple things that I want us to think about to connect with people, because everybody communicates, but few people really truly connect with others. The first thing is connect on common ground, connect on their vision, their goals that they have for showing up in our business. Connect on the simple things like, did they get enough water? Did they get enough sleep? And did they get enough exercise? Connect on things like, I care about you, I want to help you, and I want you to trust me. That's level 2. So all I'm doing is flowing through the levels now, you guys. Like, know the perspective, know how you're trying to connect with people, know what level you're at with them. If they haven't mastered water, sleep, and exercise, you're not at level 2 with them. You're not at level 3 with them. You are at level 1 with them. So stay within the confines of communicating at the level that you're at with them. And then level 3, communicate through results, through outputs that matter most. We've already been through this, but this is the common ground of what we should be communicating with our members and with each other about is, who are we? What's our system? How do we do this? Why do we do this? When do we do this? It's just this who, what, where, when, why, how. But if we violate the common ground thing and we start talking about things that have no business being inside the facility and or in a communication, we will disconnect from people. They will say, what in the world are they trying to talk to me about this with? And I would say we talk about common ground of having self-discipline and consistency. Everybody needs it. Everybody has to have vision and goals. So let's stay talking about that instead of talking about all the crazy things that they might want to talk about. Redirect back to the connection of why they're here and why we're here and make it great. Keep it simple with people is the next way to communicate well. You make things overcomplicated. You use too many words. C-style people, too many words. Get there quicker, get there simpler. Don't get so detailed. I-style people, stop telling so many stories. Keep it simple, be brief and direct and pleasant with people, and make sure that they understand it. So to me, the simplicity of who we are is we're all about exercise and nutrition. We're all about results, relationships, and community. So keep it there. Don't get off into tangents and things that have no business being part of the conversation. Remember, Colin Powell says, great leaders are almost always simplifiers who can cut through the argument, the debate, the opinions, and doubt to offer a solution that everybody can understand. So become that great communicator. Break through the argument, break through the opinions, break through the desire for debate that people seem to have these days, and offer solutions that they can understand. Keep it simple. For me, when it comes to fitness, I look at it this way, simple things. 7 to 8 hours sleep, half your body weight in water, macronutrients are complicated, just eat smart and measure, what you're eating, like keep a log. But again, just try to figure it out. Show up and work out 3 times a week. Can it get any simpler than that? Next thing is create an experience everyone enjoys. This is where knowing the communication style comes in handy. Because if you communicate to a D-style person from your D-style person, but they're an S-style person, you are not going to give them an enjoyable communication. Make sure all communications are based on win-win-win. The company must win. If we are not helping the company win, we are violating win-win-win. The members must win. And we as a system of coaches must win. So start focusing on, how do I create an experience where everybody wins? Think about it and you can achieve it. The company wins, the member wins, and the coach wins. That's great. What I want us to do is do a better job of inspiring people. We inspire people by encouraging them. We inspire them by high-fiving them, but spend less time telling people they're doing stuff wrong. That doesn't inspire anybody. Help enough people get what they want, and you will always get what you want. And that is how you inspire people. That's a Zig Ziglar quote. Live what you communicate to people, I think is essential. The dilemma that we have is a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. So a leader knows the way and communicates it with their body language. Goes the way, it means that they don't just communicate it, they actually go do it, take action on things, and then they show other people how to do it. The problem is that there's this other alternative thing going on in the world where people think that they can tell people to do something that they're not willing to do. It's like the parenting style, do what I say, not what I do. If you're not working out, as an example, you have no business telling people that they should work out. So my encouragement, my honest to goodness assessment is, get your poop in a group and get your workout programs going, get your nutritional programs going. Convey to them, I am in this with you. I live what I communicate, and I'm going to challenge you to come alongside me and let me help you do it great too. You can learn from people, they can learn from you, but it's more about knowing the way, going the way, and showing the way. So this has been a little bit delayed due to sickness, so I apologize. I'm going to give you through December 31st to get all of your homework done from your reflection and application on your worksheets. Please get them to your facility leader and or your leader so that they can convey to me and I can assess, do we understand what we're doing to practice communication? They will send it to me for review. After they send it to me for review, I'm either going to do a group coaching with an entire facility or a group of people, or I'm going to convey one-on-one to the facility leader and or leader what I'd like them to convey to you. As always, every one of you have the ability to reach out to me if you have questions or want to dig deeper into this conversation of how to be a better communicator. And remember, you've heard most of this before. You've had the disc before. I encourage you to get into your disc and read your disc and start to really highlight what it says about you. This disc is not about the information that it's written on the sheets of paper. It's about applying the information and creating a transformation in your life. This very specific conversation today is about communication transformation, becoming a better communicator. It's not about talent. It's not about experience. If you truly want success in your life, then learn how to communicate better. Thank you, my friends. I hope to see you guys all very soon and see that we can have a great communication together.